It was a late Friday afternoon in Seattle, the sky painted with soft gray clouds, and the smell of rain was already in the air. Emma stood at the corner of Union Station, nervously checking her watch again and again. Her hands were trembling slightly, not from the cold, but from excitement. 2 years. That's how long it had been since she last saw David Parker, her best friend, or maybe something more than that. They had met at Washington State University, both majoring in media and communications. Emma had always been quiet and careful, while David was the kind of person who made every room brighter just by walking in. He had that easy smile, that natural confidence, that ability to make you forget your problems for a while. He used to tell her, "When we graduate, I'll take your picture at the Space Needle. You'll be holding your nursing certificate, and I'll be the one behind the camera. Promise." That promise had stayed with her through all the busy nights at the hospital, through all the long days when she felt too tired to even smile. Now, 2 years later, David had become a professional photographer in New York City. He traveled a lot: weddings, fashion shoots, travel blogs. They had kept in touch at first, texts, video calls, a few photos. But lately, silence. Weeks, sometimes months, with no word. Then, last week, out of nowhere, he had texted her, "Hey, I'll be in Seattle next Friday. Let's meet at Union Station, 6:30 p.m. I can't wait to see you again." Emma had read that message at least 100 times. So here she was, standing under the big station clock, holding a small paper bag from a downtown bakery. Inside was David's favorite, a slice of lemon cake. The same one they used to share after class. The train from New York arrived at 6:35. People poured out, families hugging, friends laughing, couples reuniting. Emma scanned every face, her heart racing faster. She even fixed her hair nervously and smiled at strangers passing by, hoping one of them would be him, but he wasn't there. By 7 o'clock, most of the crowd had already disappeared. The sky had turned darker, and rain began to fall in light drops. She took out her phone, no calls, no messages. She typed, deleted and typed again, "Hey, are you still coming?" But she didn't send it. She just stared at the screen for a long time, her reflection staring back at her. Confused, hopeful, and slowly breaking, Emma finally sat down on the bench near platform 3, the paper bag still in her hand. The lemon cake was starting to get crushed inside, just like her heart. She whispered to herself, maybe he forgot. Maybe he really forgot. And for the first time in a long while, she felt something she hadn't felt since college. The sting of being left behind. The rain came harder that evening, tapping softly against the glass walls of Union Station. Emma sat there, watching people come and go. Some smiled, some hurried, some laughed. But she just sat still, holding the small paper bag that once felt so full of meaning. Her phone finally buzzed. Her heart jumped. It was a message, but not from David. It was from her co-worker, Lily. "Hey are you still at the hospital? We could use an extra hand if you're free." Emma typed quickly, "Can't. Waiting for someone." Then she put the phone down again and sighed. The rain outside had turned into a cold drizzle, and she could see her reflection on the glass window, tired eyes, wet hair, the look of someone who had waited too long. 87:45. She finally gave up. She stood, took one last look at the train platform, and walked toward the exit. The air smelled like wet concrete and disappointment. On her way home, she kept checking her phone, hoping for a message, a call, something. Nothing came. When she reached her small apartment in Capitol Hill, she placed the crushed paper bag on the counter and sat on the couch without turning on the lights. The silence was loud. Her mind began to replay old memories. The time David helped her move into her dorm room, the night they watched the fireworks at the Space Needle, the late-night talks about dreams, fears, and everything in between. She remembered how he used to listen, really listen. And how he always made her feel like she mattered, but now, she wasn't so sure anymore. She finally opened her phone again and scrolled through their old messages. The last one was from him, 5 days ago, Friday. 6:30 p.m. Don't be late. M's smiling face with open mouth and smiling eyes. Her fingers trembled as she typed. Hey, I waited for you tonight. Everything okay? She hit send this time. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Still no reply. It was almost midnight when she gave up and went to bed, her heart heavy. The sound of rain outside didn't help, it only made her loneliness louder. Just as she was about to fall asleep, her phone buzzed. She sat up quickly, hope lighting up her face. It was a message from David, but when she opened it, her heart dropped. Hey Em, I'm so sorry. I thought we said next Friday. My mind's been all over the place lately. Work's crazy. Can we meet next week instead? She stared at the message for a long time. No apology for not checking. No call. Just a simple mix-up. Like she was an afterthought, Emma placed the phone face down on the nightstand. Her eyes filled with tears. She didn't want to cry, because deep down, she knew the truth. It wasn't about the date. It wasn't about being busy. He had simply forgotten. The following Friday, Seattle looked brighter. The rain had stopped, and the city smelled fresh again, like new beginnings. But inside Emma's heart, nothing felt new. The week had been long, and every night, she had stared at her phone, wondering if David would really show up this time. He had texted again that morning. See you tonight, same place. I promise this time. Smiling face. That word, promise, made her feel something strange. Once, it used to bring her comfort. Now, it only made her cautious. By 6:25 p.m., Emma was back at Union Station, standing under the same big clock, wearing the same blue dress. She had straightened her hair, put on light makeup, and told herself she wasn't nervous, just curious. The crowd was smaller this time. The train from New York pulled in right on time, and as passengers stepped out, she saw him. David looked almost the same, maybe a little thinner, his hair longer, a camera still hanging around his neck. His face lit up when he saw her, and before she could say a word, he pulled her into a hug. Emma. Oh my God, it's really you. For a moment, she forgot the anger. His voice, his warmth, it all came back. But as they stepped apart, she noticed how different his eyes looked. They didn't hold the same steady kindness. There was something distracted, distant, as if part of him was still somewhere else. I'm so sorry about last week, he said. Everything's been crazy with work. I just got back from a shoot in Miami, and I swear, my brain's a mess. Emma smiled politely. It's okay. Things happen. They walked toward a small cafe near the station, the same one they used to visit in college. David ordered coffee, Emma, tea. They talked, but it didn't feel like before. His phone kept lighting up. Every few minutes, he glanced at it, typing quick replies. Finally, she asked softly, busy, huh? He gave a short laugh. Yeah, just my agent. There's this project coming up, and they want to change the dates. But enough about that. Tell me about you. How's the hospital? She started talking about her patients, her long shifts, her new apartment, but halfway through, she noticed he wasn't really listening. He was smiling and nodding, but his eyes kept drifting toward his phone again. The space between them felt wider with every minute. After an hour, David glanced at his watch. I hate to cut this short, but I've got dinner plans with some clients. Maybe we can hang out properly next week. Emma froze. Clients? He smiled. Yeah, some people I met through work. You know how it is. Connections, networking, it's all part of the game. She nodded slowly, forcing a smile. Of course. They walked outside together. The sky was turning orange again, like the night she had waited for him. When they reached the corner, he gave her another quick hug. "It was really good seeing you," he said. "Yeah," she replied quietly. "You too." He started walking away, waving his hand, already talking on the phone. Emma stood there for a while, watching him disappear into the crowd, like a shadow fading into the city. She took a deep breath, blinked back her tears, and whispered to herself, "The hardest part isn't that he forgot me once. It's realizing, maybe I don't mean the same anymore." That night, she walked home alone. No text. No call. Just the sound of her footsteps and the echo of something beautiful slowly breaking inside her. The weekend came, but it didn't feel like a weekend. Emma stayed home most of Saturday, sitting by the window with a cup of cold coffee she'd forgotten to drink. Outside, the world went on as usual, children playing in the street, cars passing by, someone laughing in a nearby apartment, but inside, everything felt quiet, almost too quiet. She had replayed last night in her mind 100 times, David's distracted smile, his phone lighting up, the way he said, "I've got dinner plans." That single moment kept repeating like a song she couldn't turn off. For years, she had imagined their reunion as something special, maybe a little awkward, maybe full of laughter and stories. She had imagined they'd talk for hours, maybe even walk by the pier like they used to. But what she got was a quick coffee and a polite goodbye. It hurt in a way she hadn't expected. She opened her old photo album, the one she hadn't touched since college. There they were, in every picture. David with his camera, always smiling, Emma beside him, pretending to be annoyed but secretly happy, the two of them sitting on the grass after class, eating lemon cake, laughing at nothing. She smiled sadly. Those were the days when everything was simple, when friendship meant showing up, not scheduling time around clients or projects. Her eyes stopped at one photo, a blurry one. It was the night before graduation. She was wearing a white dress, he was wearing his cap backward, holding his camera high. He had taken a picture of her looking at the city lights. She remembered that moment so clearly. He had said softly, "You know, Em, one day, you'll make someone very lucky. You've got that kind of heart." She had laughed, pretending not to blush. "What about you?" she asked. He'd smiled. "Me? I'm too focused on my dreams to think about love right now." That was the first time she realized she loved him, not in a dramatic way, not like in movies. It was quiet, steady, real. The kind of love that just grows without permission. Now, looking at the photo, she whispered, "I wish I'd told you." Her phone buzzed suddenly, breaking the silence. For a moment, her heart jumped. Maybe it was him. Maybe he wanted to talk, but it wasn't. It was a message from Lily again. "Hey, I'm going out tonight. Come with me. You need some fun." Emma looked around her empty apartment, at the old photos spread across the table, and finally typed back, "Sure. Why not?" That night, she put on a simple dress and met Lily at a small restaurant downtown. The music was soft, the lights warm, and for the first time in days, Emma smiled. But halfway through dinner, something unexpected happened. As she laughed at one of Lily's jokes, she saw a familiar face through the window, David, sitting outside another cafe across the street. He wasn't alone. A young woman sat across from him, smiling brightly, touching his arm as they talked. Emma's smile froze. The laughter faded from her lips. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. She looked down at her plate, pretending she hadn't seen. But her heart was pounding, not in anger, not in jealousy, but in a quiet, deep sadness. She whispered to herself, maybe that's why he forgot. Sunday morning came with a grey sky and a heart that felt heavier than ever. Emma hadn't slept much. The image of David sitting across from that woman wouldn't leave her mind. Her bright smile, the way she leaned forward when he spoke, the soft look in his eyes. It wasn't jealousy. Not exactly. It was more like watching someone quietly close a door you thought was still open. She sat by the window, holding her phone. Her fingers hovered over David's name. She wanted to ask him, who was she? But she couldn't. She didn't have the right anymore. They weren't anything, not really. Just old friends. At least that's what she kept telling herself. To distract herself, Emma decided to scroll through social media. She opened Instagram and, without thinking, typed in David's username, Parker Photos. The first thing she saw was a new post from just hours ago. It was a picture of that same cafe from last night. And in it, the woman. She was sitting by the window, laughing, sunlight in her hair. The caption read, "When work feels like art, yellow heart #Seattle shoot #inspiration." Emma's stomach tightened. She clicked the tagged account, at Sophia Lane Studio. It was full of bright portraits and fashion photos. The bio said, "Model, traveler, dreamer." Emma stared at the screen. So that's who she was, a model, maybe a client. Maybe not. But the look in David's eyes in that photo, it didn't look like work. It looked personal. She set her phone down and closed her eyes, trying not to cry. Later that afternoon, she met Lily again at the hospital cafe. Lily noticed the sadness right away. "You look pale, Em. What's wrong?" Emma smiled weakly. "Just tired." Lily frowned. "Tired, or heartbroken?" Emma looked away, then whispered, "You ever care about someone who just moved on without you?" Lily nodded softly. "Yeah. The worst part isn't losing them. It's realizing they don't even remember how much you cared." That sentence hit Emma hard. She felt her chest tighten. When her shift ended, she walked home slowly, passing the places she and David once went together: the old bookstore, the park with the fountain, the cafe that used to play their favorite song. Each place felt like a ghost now, full of memories that used to mean something. That night, she sat on her bed, scrolling again through his page. Another new post appeared, this time, a picture of a camera beside 2 coffee mugs. The caption said, "Great day, better company." She closed the app and threw her phone aside, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. Then something unexpected happened, a small notification sound. A message from David. "Hey, I just realized you work near Harborview Hospital, right? I'm doing a photo series there next week. Maybe we could grab lunch." Her heart skipped. After everything, he still wanted to see her, but she didn't reply. Not right away. For the first time, she wanted to think, really think, about what she deserved. She whispered to herself, "I was always waiting for him. Maybe it's time he waits for me." And she placed her phone face down, choosing silence over chasing someone who had already let go. A week passed. The city of Seattle began to bloom again, cherry blossoms lining the streets, the air filled with that soft promise of spring. Emma had been quieter at work, but calmer too. Sometimes, peace doesn't come from forgetting. It comes from finally accepting what is. Then, one afternoon, while finishing her shift at the hospital, she heard someone call her name, "Emma." She turned, and there he was. David. He stood in the hallway, camera around his neck, looking exactly the same and yet completely different. His smile was familiar, but his eyes carried something new, maybe guilt, maybe understanding. "Hey," he said softly. "I texted you, but you never replied." "I know," she said. "I wasn't sure what to say." He nodded, shifting his camera strap. "I'm doing this project about medical workers, real faces, real stories. I thought maybe I'd see you here." She smiled faintly. "And here I am." They walked to the small park outside the hospital, where benches sat under the soft shade of pink blossoms. The air smelled of flowers and distant rain. For a few minutes, neither spoke. Finally, David said, "I'm sorry, Em. About everything. I didn't mean to hurt you." She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the boy she once knew, the dreamer who had once promised to take her picture at the Space Needle. "You didn't mean to," she said quietly. "But you did." He lowered his head. I know. I was caught up in work, in travel, in trying to make something of myself. I thought we'd always have time. Emma nodded slowly. That's the thing, David. You always think there's more time, until there isn't. He opened his mouth to speak, but she stopped him. It's okay, she said gently. I don't blame you anymore. I just finally understand. Sometimes people grow in different directions. You were chasing your dreams, and I was holding on to a memory. For a moment, the only sound was the wind moving through the trees. David sighed. There's someone I want you to meet someday, Sophia. She's been helping me with my photography series. She's special. Emma's chest tightened, but she managed a small, genuine smile. I'm glad you found someone special. He looked surprised. You're not mad? She shook her head. No. I'm just done waiting. David smiled softly, a sad, grateful smile. He took out his camera, one last picture. For old time's sake. Emma hesitated, then nodded. He lifted the camera, focusing. Okay, ready? She smiled, not the forced smile from the train station, but a quiet, peaceful one. The kind that comes when you finally let go. The camera clicked. Just one photo. One moment frozen in time. As he lowered it, she said, You once promised you'd take my picture at the Space Needle when I became a nurse. He smiled faintly. I remember. She stood, brushing the petals off her uniform. Well, you kept your promise. Just not the way I expected. He nodded, understanding what she meant, and that this was goodbye. Emma turned and began to walk back toward the hospital. The wind lifted her hair, carrying with it the faint scent of cherry blossoms. David watched her go, camera hanging loosely at his side, and in that moment, he realized, maybe she had always been the one he shouldn't have forgotten. Cherry blossom epilogue. Weeks later, Emma received an envelope in the mail. Inside was a printed photograph, the one David had taken that day in the park. On the back, he had written, For Emma, the heart I should have never let fade. She smiled as she placed it inside her photo album, next to their old college pictures. But this time, she didn't cry, because now, she knew, some stories don't need a perfect ending to be beautiful, they just need to be real.